DDG, episode 139. My name is Dave Hunt, and I'm joined by Michael Swick.
How's it going, Dave? We're getting a little worried about the internet right now. It wasn't working too well.
Hashtag Dave needs a new PC.
Yeah, we're going to have to start like a fundraiser for Dave to get into 2015 with computer spec-wise.
I think I bought this computer in 2015.
That's why I said it. I'm pretty sure it's 2015, 2016.
The only thing my streaming rig has that's like good is it still has an i7. So like that in terms of performance, and that's the only thing it does is stream. Like I don't use it to do anything else. So it's literally like a streaming box. But
yeah, it's.
I would love an all-in-one like that could run. I don't even need like you know me pretty well. I don't even need like super high end like 4K 120 frames. Like I'd just be happy with like 60 frames, maybe 90 frames, like 1080p, like solid, 1440 at the most. Or
I have a 1060. My computer's from 2016, my computer's from 2017, 2018. I have a 1060, perfectly capable of 1080p, 60 frames gaming.
Yeah.
So you would be perfect in that range.
Yeah.
Though if we go crazier, we could, but
I just wanted to stream and play. Like that's what I want to do. So that's where like I'd have to probably go to like an i9, I think.
Not i9. You mean graphics card? Because you're fine
but
with
the processing power too, though.
You don't like i7's pretty good for that. You don't want like you're good. What your bottleneck right now is graphics card, probably RAM. Because I know you were limited to how much RAM you could put in that machine when we were looking at upgrading it.
Are you talking about my gaming PC or my streaming PC?
The streaming PC.
Okay,
Because I know that you did some upgrades to it, but like you probably right now need RAM for sure. Yeah, you don't need an i9. You need RAM and a graphics card. Because I think you're running the stock graphics card on that streaming PC.
Oh yeah, I bet you there's like
it's Intel like, graphics card. But like, it's nothing crazy.
This is like this graphic card can fit in the palm of my hand.
Yeah. So you need a graphics card basically in order to get you right.
So, and the problem I ran into originally was finding a graphics card that can fit in this thing.
That's the problem. Because you were just looking for a stock
this is kind of like the same, like I don't even like the same like thing that you would see like sitting next to somebody's monitor like in a cubicle office.
Yeah. You're saying computer. There's a reason you're using two computers, one to play on and one to stream. The weak one is doing the streaming. So before recording, I was like, Dave just needs an upgrade. Doesn't matter how big of an upgrade. Just like anything he buys today would be a significant upgrade over what he's using now. Yeah. So we'll work on that.
For functionality, I would love to have one box that I could stream and play games on, and like not have to worry about as much.
That's what I have, but I just don't stream.
I'm still making it work. Yeah. You don't stream. So.
Yeah.
Still making it work. So, all right. Obviously, we are Digital Days Gaming. We are a weekly podcast that posts every Thursday morning at 6 a.m. Many of you, maybe based on some download figures, really like Josh, obviously, and we would love to have him on a more regular basis, and we have asked. But if you listened last week and you're giving us another chance this week, thank you for being here. Please consider subscribing so that you automatically get updated when the show goes live. As well as following us on the social networks, whether it's Twitch and Twitter. Join the Facebook group if you use Facebook. Michael recently decided to start having people fight and did a Warhawk, Starhawk, PS3 YouTube short TikTok thing. So we kind of trying to get back going on some of that stuff. But all of those are linked in the show notes, and you can definitely check that out. We do stream the show typically on Monday nights, twitch.tv/digitaldaysgaming, where you can follow there. That's free. If you have Twitch Prime or Amazon Prime, you can merge it with Twitch and get something called Prime Gaming. Last week they were giving away a ton of stuff, like Mass Effect was free for the day, some other games, some EA, like Hot Pursuit, Need for Speeds. I don't know, like there was at least 6 or 8 games that were for free for like the Prime days. So if you link those together, that you get a bunch of cool additions and bonuses, as well as you can subscribe to a Twitch streamer of your choice. Hopefully that's us, or just give it to somebody. And you do have to keep checking it. So we get highs and lows. Obviously, when I because Michael doesn't lately, but when I stream on a more regular basis, we do get the subs. When people are putzing on their phone. So, but if you're listening to the podcast and you have subbed to us on Twitch before, just open the Twitch app really quick, click on us, click sub, click use Prime, and go. If it's your first time, you do have to do it on a computer. But if it's past your first time, just open the app and do it on your phone. It's super easy.
Yeah.
So, and again, it doesn't always have to be us. I would love it to be us, but find somebody. Don't let Amazon keep a free $2.50. They don't need any more dollars.
Yeah. So. Just use it. Give it away.
Yep. So, all right, we're going to jump into some of the news.
Yeah, I had a look at how I organize things today. Very haphazardly on my lunch break. All right, so some updates on the acquisitions. So last week, PlayStation announced that they have closed their deal with Haven. They have closed their deal with Bungie, making them official part of the PlayStation studios, or in Bungie's case, adjacent to the PlayStation studios. They get their own little box that they get to live in. So those deals are official. And then Microsoft apparently should be approved by the FTC within the next month. So Microsoft's lawyers triggered what's basically a 30-day window where if there's any challenges or additions that need to be done to the deal, they have 30 days to agree to them. And that's basically everything's already been agreed to. This is just a formality, but this will basically mean FTC approval, 30 days pass, and then it's a done deal. Activision Blizzard will be a part of Microsoft.
This is like the last chance for like a couple of their marquee stockholders to pitch a fit.
Basically, yeah. Just to try and squeeze just a little bit more money out of it. But again, everything's already been agreed to. Unless the FTC is like, hey, we'll approve this if you meet this, and this condition. This is when that will happen. So that's a done deal. So we can, in a case like PlayStation where they specifically said, like, we are not done making deals, they were probably waiting for the Bungie deal to close so they can then do more, and we'll talk about that in the next news story because they did make a smaller acquisition. But we'll see the floodgates open again on acquisitions.
Yeah, I think it's just the point of emphasis is that the longer this has gone on now, this has like been 6 months, 7 months since the Bungie acquisition was announced. Just like you had mentioned, like if you look at like the Haven acquisition and the Housemarque acquisition and etc. over the last year or so, it's like you are part of the PlayStation family, and like the stuff I'm seeing, and everybody knows that I follow Destiny and I follow Bungie fairly heavily on Twitter. It's more or less Bungie's always like our partnership with Sony, our partnering with Sony. Like there is PlayStation conversation in there, but I feel like it's more Sony than it is PlayStation. But it's being put under the PlayStation umbrella because it's video games.
Yeah, and there's Sony knows where they get their money, so that's why they just put everything under the PlayStation umbrella. That makes the money, and it just happens to be video games.
But like my point is, like Bungie keeps saying Sony, so it's like, and the thing is, like they had to reiterate again because people, like, as they said, hey, the deal's done. Everybody's like, oh, can't wait for exclusive Destiny content. They're like, stop it, like no. Like,
I saw like the same Twitter rumor mongers being like, oh, the next Killzone's coming from Bungie. It's just like, no. Bungie will do what Bungie does. They're not going to interfere with that.
It's going to be a completely different story. We really won't know the true power that Sony holds over Bungie until, like I said months ago, Bungie comes to Sony and says, hey, we need some cash.
Yeah, and the next game Bungie's making is already years in development, so it's going to be the game after the next Bungie game.
Right.
Before
the mobile, and we found out like a month ago, the mobile game is still a thing.
Yeah,
and the investment from NetEase is still a big thing. So that didn't go away. And then Matter is, I would say Matter is 18 months from announcement, and probably 3.5 years from release. 3 years at the farthest from release. So. Like they're in a very interesting situation. I through the course of a little bit of interaction on Twitter, somebody that follows somebody was like, "Oh, like as soon as Sony makes Bungie give Destiny to somebody else, like that's not gonna happen."
Either Destiny's just gonna go away,
right?
It'll go away before they give it away
will.
To someone else.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. Like they'll stop doing Destiny before they give it to
who. Like who on PlayStation?
Yeah, I don't even know. Santa Monica, I don't know. Like so
there's no one you can give that to.
It'll definitely
safely.
stop. But I don't think they have any intentions of stopping any Destiny content. I mean, they've announced content through 2024, and that supposedly is only ending the first chapter.
They don't have to do a lot of content. They don't have to build an entire game. They can just keep the money rolling.
Keep adding, yeah. And then they're expanding rapidly, like opening up a new studio in Amsterdam, like doubling or tripling the size of their Bellevue studio, and they're like, I don't even know what the rules are, because I'm sure it's a Washington State rule, but you're available to work remotely for Bungie in like 19 out of 50 states. Like you have to have residency in certain states.
Yeah.
Like I couldn't work for Bungie remotely from Michigan. You could from Illinois, as an example.
Yeah.
So
well, it's one of those things where it's like, I don't think Destiny is going to grow any bigger, but the people that are invested in it have a cash flow that is very much suitable to like sustain Bungie for years.
I guess it really depends on what your definition of growth is, and I feel like if we ever looked at a chart for Destiny, you just see high peaks
high peaks. But I'm saying like tomorrow, Bungie's not going to be like Destiny's the new Fortnite. Like that's never going to happen. But they'll grow, a couple thousand every year.
Every February they'll shoot up. Whenever their named expansion comes out, because it's like in February now, every 3 months you'll see them shoot up a little bit as a new season launches.
And each time they shoot up, they pass a little bit further than the last time they shot up. But it's not going to be like this overnight, like, oh my god.
They're like the number, like I was looking it up too, like they're like the number 2 tracked MMO player count, which I was assuming League would be ahead of it.
Well, they will, League being a free to play, well, I guess Destiny's free to play, but also MOBA isn't an MMO, so, but it's past Warcraft for damn sure, because like, I'm assuming that list is Final Fantasy 14, Destiny, then Warcraft.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, it probably is 14. Yeah, so no, it's just super interesting. It was kind of one of those things where like I started seeing it again, and I'm like, why are they do? I'm like, oh, it's done. Okay.
Yeah, it's official. It's done, and now I'm sure Bungie after this can go to Sony and being like, okay, once we clear Matter, once we clear the NetEase thing, let's start building the fundamental things we need for the next thing, because
what are you expecting from us as an owner? What is the owner expecting from us as a developer?
Yeah, here's an idea we have for the game. We'll need this money. We can peel the money we make from this project, and this project into this. Especially Bungie's not a studio that like they can produce a game in 2-3 years. Like they the scope they go for is a game that you have to talk about 5 years before you actually start developing for. And then I'm sure now PlayStation can go to Bungie and are like, can you send your economy person for a week over to Naughty Dog? Or can you send your person over to, the MLB team? It's like, they could use some tightening up on something. They don't need it. I'm just throwing out an example.
Yeah. Well, the things that, regardless of whether you like Destiny's gameplay or don't like Destiny's gameplay, is irrelevant. There are things that they do very well. One, they have a way to, whatever your player count is or isn't, a continuous login rate, like a regularly logging into the game, whether it's X amount of times every 90 days, X amount every 7, X amount every 6 months, like whatever it is. And then 2, aside from some server bottlenecking issues, and I think, Michael, you can attest to this, just from the chatter you hear, they don't really have a lot of multiplayer internet or server issues.
No, not really.
They have stuff like on launch days,
which is the standard, but they usually fix it relatively quick.
Yeah, but you're not sitting there seeing like some Friday afternoon people complaining, I can't play Destiny for like 4 days now.
Yeah, and especially like I was saying, like Destiny doesn't have like a huge high player count, but they can handle those spikes when they do have it. So Bungie will go from like an okay number to like a gigantic number in a matter of a day or two based on content coming out, and they can hold that stability.
Yeah.
So
maybe Sony can come to them and say, "Hey, can you like tell us not to have PS Plus crash on Christmas Day? That'd be great."
And Microsoft can't figure that out either. So
right, I know.
Yeah, Bungie aren't wizards. So.
No, but in terms of like how to deal with like all of a sudden this many people like hitting the server, like distributing them or pushing them around, like
when The Last of Us, if they want The Last of Us multiplayer factions to be big. You probably have Bungie, I've said this 1,000 times, kick the tires on that thing from like a network stability standpoint and also from an economy standpoint.
Well, yeah, like or just a presentation like HUD, HUD presentation.
I mean, every game's copied Destiny 1 since Destiny 1 came out.
A reward presentation of like how the stuff is delivered to you.
Yeah.
So
now, if you can get the guy who did the Killzone sound for multiplayer with like the Bungie UI people. You can make some magic happen.
with the Naughty Dog graphic designer.
Yeah, Naughty Dog storytelling would help. Actually, that'd be perfect. Just trade like some storytellers from Naughty Dog over to some economists from Bungie. And just like really work on this, because it's going to happen, because that's how PlayStation functions. That's how their games are as amazing as they are, is because they do cross-pollinate a lot.
And Bungie did it too. Bungie brought Blizzard people in for Diablo, their Diablo voice
for Overwatch as well. Like Bungie people, I believe, kind of like looked at it
and like, hey, like what did you guys do? Because like Diablo 2 or whatever had a problem, and they had to like almost kind of rebuild it. And they're like, okay, like what did you do? How did you do it? Like what worked, what didn't work, and they helped them do that as Bungie was fixing itself through the end of Destiny 1's life cycle into the beginning of Destiny 2's life cycle, just to fix itself again. So.
Yeah, so we'll be hearing more about that stuff soon. It's going to be super interesting.
The only question I have for you is, do you think that this acquisition being in limbo for the last 6 months has, and I don't think so, but I'm curious if you do, like, has maybe kept Bungie quieter than they would have been maybe the last 3 months?
No.
About what the next expansion may or may not be called, like however close, if this mobile game is ready for announcement, with Sony like, hey, just wait, like especially like if they were gonna go, if the plan was to go in April or May, and then Sony's like, no, not yet, please, like.
No, I would imagine, just like Activision Blizzard hasn't stopped rolling during the acquisition time, Bungie's got too much of a machine going for them to like actually stop and do anything. The only thing that might have slowed down is on PlayStation side. Again, once you get the Bungie people on your team to be like, hey, let's get them to look at our stuff. You probably can't do that during the acquisition time, but Bungie can focus on their own projects during that time, because they know the money's coming. They have Nettie's money.
Because typically around this time, this is like when we got like the reveal for the Witch Queen. Granted, it got delayed, but like this is when they were kind of telling us about. And the delays have hurt it, because like September used to be Destiny month, and then it became November, and then it became February over time and over delays. But typically around this time, like Bungie Day was July 7th, like this is when usually you hear a lot of stuff come from Bungie, or they're announcing like, here's the next chapter, or here's the and I'm curious if that the acquisition being so close to being completed was like, hey, let's pump the brakes. Now, granted, they're not doing a hiring freeze. I've seen them advertise for hiring positions for the last couple of months.
They've been aggressive, just seeing how many stuff pops up, and like just the promoted section, like on Twitter. Where it like goes toward to me, I'm just like, why? I don't need to know this. I can imagine some stuff might have slowed down, but I would imagine like anything Destiny related, they already had a roadmap for that stuff. And then also like you have to account COVID for it. They got the big expansion out this year, but after the big expansion, there's not much they can really announce outside of basic roadmap stuff.
Well, and plus with the way they're telling the story seasonally now, they can't like leak like what's gonna, they can't announce what's gonna come in February when there's still 2 more seasons of storytelling to go.
Yes, there's only so much they can do, but I guarantee the next PlayStation press conference or whatever happens, Bungie will probably get a mention. You'll get a Destiny teaser. That's where you're probably going to get a lot of like little teases. You won't get like full
whatever
reveals.
their September showcase is. Like we'll get like a title card or something. So.
Yeah, Bungie will still do their own streams to promote their stuff, but now they'll probably get a little bit of feature every year in the PlayStation stuff. All right, speaking of PlayStation, PlayStation has acquired Repeat.gg. So this is a like community tournament platform that allows like just like regular people, it's like outside of like big tournaments, to just create tournaments free and paid. They do Fortnite, Call of Duty, a little bit of everything. Again, it's pretty open, but PlayStation has acquired them. They will still do multiple platforms, but the PlayStation acquisition can help them grow as a company and really step up their game. This kind of isn't the move you'd expect PlayStation to do, but they just acquired a chunk of Evo last year, so this kind of just lines up with PlayStation just kind of diversifying outside of traditional gaming. Like this is them just being like, how can we become a platform for tournaments? And now they acquired repeat, which is something I don't really hear people talk about, but I knew what it was when this was announced.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think it's also more or less like looking into the future. Like a lot of people are like, oh, a tournament, like you're not gonna see Evo for a while, like in person. Like no, you not until like 2024, 2025. But by then, yeah. Well, I mean, but by then they'll be more ready.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it'll be more ready and more anything that they can do to, because it's always been. I always felt like with any kind of like Evo or Street Fighter tournaments or any of that stuff, like the watchability factor for me personally has always been a challenge. Like, where is it? When is it? Where can I watch it? As much as I watch YouTube on my phone for 8, 10, 12 minutes at a time, like I don't know if I would want to watch like a Street Fighter tournament or a Smash, I don't even know, a Smash Brothers tournament or anything on my phone for an hour and a half, 2 hours. So, like building in these blocks to where it could at least, I don't even know, like put it on Peacock or put it on,
It was on ESPN for a while, so.
Yeah. So just like a little bit more accessibility to it, getting into these places where these companies can run these things for you, like helps that. Is this a huge get? No, but it's a nice foundational brick for the house you're building.
Yeah, like currently they boast over like 7 million registered participants for this year alone, this company. And then they have planned like 8,000 competitions throughout, this year. So I don't know how many they're up to right now. But like it, you can see like a foundation for something here to where Sony saw this and we're like, 7 million people and this isn't a household name. That's interesting. Let's see what happens if we throw some additional money at this. And then like, tie it into because I think did they kill, like PS4 had a tournament section that just never really took off, and I believe they killed that, and I don't think that's on the PS5 in the game base, but I can see that coming back with a partnership with this company they own now to really integrate that and get people in there.
Well, and I think linking this with Discord too, it could be potentially be a good thing. And then also you maybe using some of their knowledge and their tech to do something like Injustice did in their King of the Hill or the Injustice 2 in-game tournament modes.
Yeah.
Where you could have like eight of your buds in a party chat or whatever, and you could be playing a tournament and they could watch each other, so like merging this together. And and we keep forgetting, and not necessarily forgetting or just not talking about it, like some of the other, like whatever this Haven Studios game is going to be could potentially link with this. The Sometimes Always Monster studio that's supposedly making a competitive third person
that Sony will own.
Yeah, or Sony owns or has a huge partnership with them.
Yeah, they own I think PlayStation owns the IP, just not the developers. So like,
right. So there's supposedly more coming if we're going to get 10 games as a service from Sony over the next 18 months, 24 months. Like those tournaments help if they're on an esports style level. So
yeah, and we know NetherRealm is for sale right now. So I feel like these are the moves you make, and then like Sony will get a fighting game.
Yeah. Eventually,
I don't know if it's going to be NetherRealm, but who knows? Maybe PlayStation All Stars Battle Royale gets another shot. But this feels like this is like the moves that Capcom would make. Like get a partnership in Evo, get this competitive video game website, to where it's just like, okay, what is Sony's end game? Is it just to diversify, or will they tie this in to a multiplayer game?
This is kind of like the PS4 launch all over again, when we're like, oh, what's the big deal about them partnering with Call of Duty for Black Ops 4? And then all of a sudden you started seeing the Black Ops 4 tournaments, and the PlayStation logo was everywhere. And everybody was playing on PS4s. Like, if you were watching those, or, if you, and even circling back to the earlier, their partnership with Bungie, like the special edition, PlayStations that were Destiny themed, like, it was all of those things that established them of like, hey, we're here to compete with Xbox. And they're, and at this point in time, like, Xbox is trying to compete with them now, but Sony's not backing down on some of the things that continued their success even 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Instead of partnering now, though, they're just doing what Microsoft has been doing and just buying.
Yeah, and these are the type of acquisitions that, like, is going to sound like a slight, but this is the type of acquisition PlayStation can afford. And these are these smaller acquisitions that can build up into something big. So PlayStation's just trying to get ahead of it. Just like, let's get this building block, and then see what happens. The next step would be to acquire a studio or make a game that will fit these things that you're building. Like, do I think factions could be something that could fit into that? No. So at a certain point, and Haven sounds more like a creative endeavor than a multiplayer thing. So it's like, unless that IP
the supposed thing that not to cut you off, I'm sorry, the supposed thing that Guerrilla's working on, that they've poached some people from Rainbow Six.
Yeah, that's what I was going to get to.
This could be a big deal.
Yeah, like it was a Deviation Studios, the Sometimes Always Monsters people.
No, that's their studio name. Sometimes Always Monsters.
Okay. I thought there was like another studio.
They're making Firewalker.
Firewalk, I think, is the studio name. Yeah. So like, there's those partnerships. Are those going to be built around some of this stuff? Like, why that's in development is PlayStation going to go like, hey, see if you can tie in with this tournament brand.
Right. Yeah, we don't really know what the Deviation game is yet.
Yeah, but it's a multiplayer game, I believe, is what they said. Like,
it's a games as a service. It has to be.
Yeah. So there's like things that like they can start building that foundation and see what happens, or they could just acquire another studio that would be in their like price range, which is why,
like you said, NetherRealm.
Yeah, who we know is for sale. It's just, do you want to buy them without Mortal Kombat, or do you buy them in licensed Mortal Kombat? That's the only sticking point. And I feel like that's why NetherRealm hasn't been acquired yet, is because you have to negotiate the Mortal Kombat aspect. Because if NetherRealm was coming,
you'd be buying more Mortal Kombat than you would be buying NetherRealm. Because like we said before, buying NetherRealm without Mortal Kombat is not terrible, but unless you have something for them to work on immediately, unless you have IPs that they can work on immediately, it's going to be challenging.
Yeah. No, exactly. And then like their other game is Injustice, so it's like you gotta license the DC stuff. And I feel like if they were coming as a package deal with Mortal Kombat, they would have been acquired a while ago. EA would have acquired them. Ubisoft would have acquired them. Take-Two would have acquired them. Like there's enough companies that would have just immediately ate them up if there was available.
But it's, like I don't get it though. Like, okay, so who owns Mortal Kombat? Do we know?
Warner Brothers.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if Warner Brothers loses NetherRealm, they don't really have somebody else to make Mortal Kombat.
But so basically, the way it was presented in the news stories,
I remember you saying like, okay, you can buy whatever studios you want, and then here we'll free agent Batman license, we'll free agent the Injustice license, we'll free agent the Mortal Kombat license to you.
But they feel like the Mortal Kombat IP is strong enough in terms of merchandise, comic books, movies, TV shows, that they're willing to take the hit on the video game thing, even though that's not a smart long-term plan. Because like, would Mortal Kombat as a movie or TV show matter if no video game has come out for 10, 15 years? No, but you're dealing with movie executives that now own Mortal Kombat. So it puts it in a weird spot.
I forgot that WB owned it, sorry.
Yeah, it sucks though, because it's basically, now Warner Brothers is owned by the Discovery Channel people, to where it's just like, oh great, so they're even further removed from everything else.
Dora the Explorer Combat.
That's Paramount. God, I hate that I know like where things are. What company owns which brand?
It kind of matters now, though, when you're like you're talking about your dream list or whatever. Like, oh, I'd really like to see this mash up with this one. Yeah, bro, that ain't ever gonna happen. Those two companies don't like each other.
Yeah, it's like Paramount's never gonna get. It's so annoying. All right, the next story. Bayonetta 3 finally has a release date. So Bayonetta 3 was announced way back in December of 2017, and Platinum Games finally revealed that it's coming out October 28th. So this is a big one. This is like, when this got announced, I was totally expecting this to slip into next year. Mm-hmm. And now I'm looking at this holiday that a month or two ago, me and you were talking about how it's going to be dire, is now like... pretty
October
damn
15th
stacked.
And November 15th is kind of stacked.
It's getting crazy stacked. And then if you just look at specifically Nintendo, like, so September 9th is Splatoon 3, and then you have October 20th, Mario's and Rabbids, October 28th, Bayonetta 3, and then November 18th, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. So like Nintendo, this holiday, again, this is what Nintendo does. They just have shit done and ready, and then at any point they can open the floodgates.
This is when, like, currently I don't think it's that hard to get a Switch, but I could see it being hard in September, October to get a Switch.
Very, very possible. It could be.
I would expect some kind of Bayonetta edition Switch, right? Or are they kind of done with those at the moment?
No, but they did announce,
or at least some Joy-Cons or something.
Yeah, I could totally see like Power A putting out something with Bayonetta on it. I mean, they're gonna re-release Bayonetta 1 and 2 on the Switch again. Like they were already on the Switch, I believe, I think Bayonetta 2 came with Bayonetta 1 on one disc, or one cartridge. Now Bayonetta 1 is coming out.
PlayStation stuff, though.
Yeah, so now Bayonetta is going to come out on the Switch very soon. And then Bayonetta 2's a hard-to-find Switch game, I believe. And now Bayonetta 3 coming out October 28th.
So Bayonetta 1 and 2 are coming on the Switch together?
No, separately.
Okay.
Which now I'm interested. I probably won't crack open Bayonetta 1 on the Switch, but I'll buy it and have it. Because I have Bayonetta on a PS4 when they remastered that with Vanquish.
Yeah, I remember, like, Johnny's a boy loves Bayonetta, and I remember him being pretty happy with, like, because the PS3 version of Bayonetta had, like, frame issues, like, massive frame issues.
It ran like shit.
Yeah. And so the PS4 one was a little better, from my hearing.
Yeah.
This is a franchise that I'm super interested in, but never played. And, this is a benefit of waiting, I guess.
Well, you'll be happy.
Am I going to play 1, 2, and 3 before 3 comes out? No.
But Dave, since you're wholesome, Bayonetta 3 is going to come with an angel mode that makes it less sexy. So you can play it, and it won't be as risque.
But isn't the whole point of it supposed to be the woman kicking people's asses and flipping her hair at them?
Yeah. I'm just saying, now you can play this game in front of Owen and not have to worry too much about what's going to happen on screen. You're like, it's a Switch, I'll just take it in the basement. So like, Angela, I'm going in a basement to play Bayonetta. But yeah, so Bayonetta 3 is ready. It's coming out October 28th. This is probably why Platinum Games have been shit the last couple years, is because they've been focusing on Bayonetta 3, because we've established Platinum has a A team, a B team, and a C team. And the A team hopefully have just been dedicated to Bayonetta 3. Because when Platinum's bad,
the B team and C team better not touch it.
Yeah, so we
there's a big difference between the A team and the B team. This is like major leagues to minor leagues. Like
it gets really rough, especially like Bayonetta 3 needs to run at 60 frames per second. It looks like it is doing that on the Switch. Thank God, because that's like a big thing. Like I imagine this is what took the game so much longer to do.
Yeah,
is because it has goals that it needs to hit, and they're on ancient hardware.
Do you think the OLED Switch delayed it at all?
No.
Okay.
I think it just comes down to frame rate. You can already tell they've made like sacrifices in the visuals, but in terms of stability, they nailed that. It's going to be one of those things where if it's slightly disappointing, people are immediately going to blame like it shouldn't have been on a Switch. But Nintendo's willing to pay for it. And the game wouldn't exist if Nintendo didn't pay for it. So you get what you get.
All right. So our next story, we get to hear Michael, I think, be disappointed and frustrated.
Surprisingly not. So Skate 4 is going free to play. So EA revealed that Skate 4 will be simply titled Skate, and it will be a free to play title. Skate 4 recently had some footage leaked from playtests, and the company basically had to come out and confirm that footage was real, and that footage is super early. They also had to say, please do not play the cracked version of the playtest that is currently downloadable on the internet, because people cracked it as soon as they could, and they're like, it's too early, it's not representative of what the final game will be. For the love of God, please don't download this and continue to like share footage. So during all that, they just kind of casually dropped that like it's going to be a free-to-play title. I'm kind of okay with it being free to play because I just don't know, like... I think this is the problem why we don't get a new Tony Hawk game. It's easier to remaster the Tony Hawk games because then people know what to get. They know what to expect and then they enjoy it. Skate being a free-to-play game, especially nowadays, like Skate... We're only talking about Skate now is because a bunch of YouTubers were playing Skate 3. And got it popular. So basically the people that are most excited for Skate is that younger YouTube generation, and that core demographic
expects free to play.
Yeah, exactly. They expect the free to play. They do not want to pay $60, $70 for a game.
Yeah, I think with these AAA studios and publishers like EA, you're in a conundrum. You're either, is my game $70 and it has long, games as a service style stuff, like $70 and gets you to continuously play and non-punishing microtransactions. And if the answer is no, then the alternative is, okay, how do we make it free to play?
Yeah.
There's no in between anymore. There's no like, hey, could they get away with releasing a $40 version of Skate? No.
Yeah, the answer is we don't make Skate.
Right. So it's either free to play, and you do all this stuff, and we have seasonal battle pass, skate pass, whatever you want to call it, microtransactions. I think I even saw something about like skate bag loot boxes or something like that, like rumored, or it's $70 with continuous content that you pay for over time.
Yeah.
Those are your two choices now.
And if neither one of those fit, the game doesn't exist. And right. I'm at the point where when they announced it was free to play, I'm like, that's kind of disappointing. But I'm like, well, I mean, skateboarding games and cosmetics kind of go hand in hand. So if they're just building around like cosmetics, cool. An open world skate. I mean, skate.
I mean, skate. Like I'm not a huge skate person, but different skate decks, wheels, clothes, shoes,
hats. Like, yeah. And that's how the Tony Hawk games have that built into it. And then you add the idea of like, okay, just an open multiplayer world that people are just filing in and out of. Cool, that sounds good. And it's either that or the game doesn't exist. So like, I had a feeling we were going the free to play route when they announced it, because it's just like, EA's not going to do anything for goodwill. They tried that, and that's when they made Mirror's Edge 2, and people were like, I really want that, but I don't give a shit enough to buy it. So they're done with the goodwill games, So they need to find a way to make money off this, and free to play is the only way you're going to get Skate in 2024, 2025.
If your name's not Respawn.
Yeah. Which Respawn is also, I didn't put this in here, are hiring for a single player game set in the Apex Legends universe, which is set in the Titanfall universe. So Respawn's the only ones that can get away with that. Like, EA made a new studio to make this game.
Yeah.
And EA doesn't do that. So there had to be some justification where they were like, all right, we make a free-to-play game. Where can we go? We can cash in on this YouTube money. It'll be easier for us to pitch this as in like, oh, cool, some YouTube.
We're not Dragon Age. We're not Madden. Then the board's like, okay, then you need to be free to play.
Oh yeah, and you want to like talk about like BioWare's on their last legs, to where if Dragon Age doesn't hit.
No, but I'm just saying like Dragon Age at least has brand recognition.
Yeah, but Dragon Age
to charge $70.
Dragon Age and Mass Effect are like on their last leg, to where if the next ones don't hit, EA's done with those too. EA's no longer going to make RPGs. So it's if they can't sell Ultimate Team packs, EA's not interested in your sports title.
And if you want to see cool skate content, play the free to play version of the game. Interact with the free to play version of the game. Level up in the free to play version of the game. Yeah. That's the only way it gets better, is to commit to it, join the community, and play the game.
Yeah, and it sounds sucks, like support financially the parts of the game you actually like. Like, we're not saying like go all in financially, but if you're like, I kind of like buying outfits, cool, tell EA that you're only interested in buying cosmetics, and they might not fuck around with all the other aspects of the game. It's kind of like how like,
oh, you spend an extra $7 and your skate wheels roll faster.
Yeah, and that's totally up. That is something EA could definitely pull. So like, don't support it in that way if you don't want to see it end up down that path. But
some limited edition skate deck that you really like and you think is cool, and the artist did a great job, and you really like that artist or that skater, like, buy it.
Yeah, and then EA will be like, oh, people really like the cosmetics. Let's just like churn out as much cosmetic stuff as we can. Like, that's your only hope for it, is to like. Yeah. The game plays well, but also like people support it financially, because the game could play well, but if people aren't fucking buying anything, EA's just going to shut this down.
Yeah. Well, and circling back to the beginning of the conversation is like, okay, it's either free to play or it's $70, or it's Knockout City.
Yeah, which Knockout City has some sort of success,
but the most of the success came from Game Pass or EA Play.
Yeah.
And PS Plus.
Yeah, but it's also one of those things for Knockout City. But like, again, EA basically let Knockout City buy its freedom, and that studio is now happy supporting Knockout City. There's no buy your freedom for Skate.
Or you turn into Fall Guys, like, and they're You talk about, hey, we're not the next Fortnite. Ironically enough, Epic has Fall Guys' like statistical numbers are absurd right now.
Yeah, because they just went full free to play. So it's one of those things where it's like, this is it for Skate. Like, if this doesn't hit, free to play or not, like, if you want a new Skate game and you boycott this free to play game, that's not gonna. EA's just gonna be like, see, we told you we shouldn't have done this, and then they're not gonna make a $70 Skate. You just gotta hope they don't shut Skate 3 down and don't make it available to purchase.
Yeah, for sure.
Which totally would be an EA move. I could totally see them taking this off the EA Skate 1, 2, and 3 off EA Play, and just be like, oh yeah, no, it's Skate free to play.
But it also, I think, opens the opportunity of if they mess up Skate and people peel out of EA or developers peel off of EA, or there's other ones that are around that are going, hey, like, okay, there's a market for this. We just can't screw it up. You have the potential for another skating game. You know, like, if they can see some, not from EA, from somebody.
Well, we've already had 2 come out in the last 2 years, and they just didn't hit. Sessions and Skate XL. They do have like a small community that is very excited, but you need brand recognition for a skateboard game, you know? Which is why I think when Microsoft does acquire Activision Blizzard, we probably will see those Tony Hawk remasters. Like, I have a feeling like Phil Spencer seems like the type of dude that's going to just be like, you know what, goodwill the fuck out of this, just because you can get a remaster out relatively quick too.
Right, and you automatically, like, they're already, whenever that acquisition goes through, you're already going to see a boost in Tony Hawk Pro Skater because it's going to go to Game Pass.
No, exactly. So Phil Spencer's going to have marketing data to point to it and be like, it's doing well, and we didn't break up the team.
We just found the code 77% done, so it's only got to invest another 22%.
Especially, I imagine when the deal's done, they're going to do a tour, basically, where it's I forget, is it like Sarah Bond, Matthew Booty, and Phil Spencer? Those 3, I think, are just going.
Well, and like, I think at this point in time, Pete Hines is in there too.
Yeah.
Pete, you know,
when, like, he's when in acquisition's done, those 3-4 people are going to go to each studio and be like, so what you working on? And most of the studios are going to be like, Call of Duty map packs, and then they're going to be like, what else you got? And then we'll start seeing announcements come from those visits. Like
you said. Pull that notebook up on the bottom of your desk. I don't want to see the 2 notebooks on the top. I want to see the one on the bottom of the pile.
Yeah. Or like Phil Spencer when he was just naming the most obscure Activision Blizzard things. Of like, I want to see this franchise come back. And it's just like, what? Franchise? I don't know how we got into that tangent, but yeah.
No, I know. It's just how it goes.
Yeah. So. But that is it for news. I might have missed some stuff. I might not have.
Yeah. I don't think anything's been delayed, actually, because we're getting things that are being announced that'll probably be delayed later, but they're actually at least being announced.
Yeah.
Although we are getting close. Like, this Bayonetta date is kind of like really close to my 90-day window.
Yeah.
So they cut it kind of close, but like, that's great. So what we're playing and watching. So for me, I have not been playing enough stuff. I cannot find my Metroid Dread. Like, I legitimately cannot find it. So we've been looking. We're getting ready to go on vacation, so we're having somebody come to the house to do some dog sitting. So we've been kind of, trying to spruce up some things, and I'm hoping like I'll find it, and I still haven't found it. My wife's been doing 99% of the work. As we also been getting my daughter ready to go back to school in August and drive. So we'll be adding a 3rd car to the rotation. So that's kind of been, between work and everything like that, that's kind of been my rotation the last week or 2 weeks. I know you guys are probably getting annoyed that I haven't been playing much of anything. I'm sorry. I am taking a console with me on vacation. I haven't decided which one, but I really think this will be a great opportunity for me to probably just start getting into Horizon 2. And I still want to start Grounded, but I think I want to start Grounded with somebody. I don't know if I want to play it by myself. But I do kind of want to get a basic understanding of that game before the official release date, which is in like September.
Yeah.
So watching, I did. We briefly touched on it with Josh last week. Angela and I did go see Thor: Love and Thunder. I didn't love it, but I didn't hate it. My wife did not enjoy it. And I think if you haven't seen it yet, I think that my best piece of advice I can give you when you go to see it is lower your expectation of what you kind of expect to happen story-wise. And what I mean by that is that I kind of went in with the hope or expectation that this was going to propel the MCU base story, and it doesn't. It's kind of just a movie
neutral.
by itself.
Yeah, I haven't seen it, but like the worst I heard about it was like, like no one was like super pissed about it, but it definitely put it lower on the list where it's like the first. Well, it's back to where I expected Thor movies to be. Like the first two Thor movies, I never saw within a month.
Well, however, I also feel like the pieces, like we've been talking about, like built, like the building, like Sony's been building the foundation for a great thing. This might be a movie you look back on in 5 years and watch it again and be like, wow, this had a lot of foreshadowing in it. Yeah. So, like, it could be one of those things later on. I don't think it's great. Like Advent saying it wasn't bad. But yeah, I guess that they've kind of set the standard of, okay, like, and I'm guilty of it as well. Like, I go and see a movie. Okay, like, what character's going to be revealed? What enemy? How does this continue the Thanos story? Like, who's coming in? Like, and like that didn't happen. Mm-hmm. So like that's the part of them kind of being their own worst enemy, and the expectation that they've set of like and the build up that they've done with their movies all kind of being connected, and then going to see one that isn't as connected. Yeah,
I can see that.
And then I also this week randomly decided to binge watch season 4 of Cobra Kai. So, it was fine. It's more Cobra Kai. I have messed around in Destiny with the clan a little bit, just getting some stuff done and helping some people get through some content that they have desires to get through. Nothing crazy, nothing ridiculous. That's kind of it. I was watching the Home Run Derby before we recorded today. That's the best all-star style festivity we have of the 4 major sports.
Sadly, it's like that and a 3-point contest are like the only consistently good ones, and then everything else is
and the baseball game is the best all-star style game because it's the most like the game that you play.
Yes, and there's stakes still? Or is there still a home field advantage for the World Series anymore?
Really. No, they did announce like this year if it goes like extra innings, it's going to be decided home run derby style. Like in the 10th, like instead of the 10th inning, they're going to do a home run derby at night. But it's in terms of like you get to see like your pitcher or your rival pitcher pitch an inning, or your hitters all face off against each other. Like that's it's good. There's still defense in there. There's still like they might not like try to gun you out at home on a throw, but you're also probably not running your ass off trying to score from third either, versus like the NBA where there's like no defense played until like the fourth quarter with the way that they've done that stuff. And the Pro Bowl is a joke. You might as well just put flags on the guys to play.
I mean, the Pro Bowl shouldn't exist at this point.
And then hockey is probably a close second just because it's the closest to hockey, but again, that's just an absurd amount of goal scoring that's in that game. So
because hockey, you get seriously fucked up, so like there's less incentive.
So, but yeah, I've been in a gaming funk. I do go on vacation in like 3 days. Like I said, if I can find my Metroid Prime game or Dread, I'll probably play that a good chunk. And then on the feed as well, I didn't get to play this. If you guys caught it last week, or it's in between, it kind of came out the same day or the day before the podcast. It's not really a huge substantial news story for us to talk about, but like Ubisoft gave me an opportunity to interview people for the Division mobile game. It looks really good, like for a mobile game that I've never really delved into that hard mobile genre at all. This looks really, really good. I've messed around with Call of Duty mobile on a controller and on the touchscreen, and that's always worked really well. But this open world New York City Division 1 style thing, with different characters, classes, being able to co-op with your friends, they're saying all the right things. The interview I had, I was asking them questions about monetization and stuff like that, and they appear to be answering all the questions PR correctly. However, this is still Ubisoft. So there is some concerns around that. But there's a really cool interview on the podcast feed as well as on the YouTube channel. The YouTube channel has gameplay over top of it. I think if you are a Division player, I think you will actually be very surprised with how this game looks and how it's running on that video, because I was surprised of it, as well as if you're just kind of into that genre at all a little bit, or you stepped away from the Division, like this might be something that is going to hold my attention enough, especially circling back to the skate conversation. It's free to play. So I don't know when it's coming out. You can sign up in the link in the show description for that interview, as well as on the YouTube channel. There's a sign up for the closed alpha or closed beta that they have soon. So, but again, thank you to Ubisoft for that opportunity. Please consider watching or listening to that piece of content and leaving me some feedback. I am aware almost every single person that I interview from Ubisoft is from a foreign country and has a very thick accent. I try my best to make them sound as well as we can. So. But that's it for playing and watching and covering for me.
Yeah. Well, for me, it's just been me playing Arcadegeddon. So Arcadegeddon is from Ilphonic. Came out with the PS Plus games. Was it like 2 weeks ago? So I've been diving into this. It's a 4-player or up to 4-player multiplayer game, either PvE or PvP. I've been diving into it just because I really like the game mechanics and the shooting feel. Like, it's a third-person shooter, but like it's got a nice assortment of like weapons that are pretty creative. You're not just dealing with like normal sniper rifles and like assault rifles. You have those, but you also have weapons that do other things and are a little creative. The PvE stuff is, I like the way it's set up. It's basically you go into this arcade and it just drops you in there, and it's broken down into stages, and each stage has multiple levels that you go through, and the levels are all connected, so it just feels like one big long run. I believe there might be a little bit of procedural generation happening between levels because it's not always the same setup every time. So basically you go into an area. It could be as simple as like make it to the exit of this level or destroy a couple of these like glitches and a door will open, and then random boss encounters happen as well. So like that hook for the PvE is really doing something for me because the actual gameplay mechanics feel good, and just leveling up your character and just doing those different aspects. There is like a story to it. I will say, not a big fan of some of the writing. The writing definitely kind of has... I wouldn't say it's bad, but it's definitely doing the thing where they're trying to make their own slang while leaning on current slang and like young people talk, which makes me feel old as shit to say that. But it's definitely one of those ones where I'm trying to decipher everything being said, and I'm just like, okay, I've heard of some of the things they're saying, but they're trying to add their own twisted flavor to it, and it's just not connecting that well for me. Advent in the chat will definitely attest to some of that, to where the intro is pretty rough when you're meeting new characters.
They said talk about the dialogue, it's horrendous.
Yeah, he really hates it. I just dislike it, just because, I don't know, it was just like it wasn't the best way to intro in the game, because the game is very bright, very colorful, definitely going with like a cool, like futuristic art look, but then when you get to the dialogue, it was just kind of like, okay, it's either there's a little too much happening and they're trying so hard to throw slang in there and create their own like thing, to where it just comes across as like they're just trying to make fetch happen over and over and over and over again, to where like at a certain point I just kind of hit X to just like breeze through it, because I just wanted to get to the gameplay, because again, I think the gameplay is really fun, and like for the most part I'm playing the PvE solo, because you can totally play it solo, but you can play it with up to 3 people, which works just fine. But the way it's built out, like they're tracking your objectives. You talk to different people, different crews, and then they give you different objectives, so different ways to basically play the runs that you were already doing. And then there's just a timer just timing how long you're doing each and every like run, which is very addicting to get through there. I know he's probably in the chat just saying how much he hates it.
No, it's him and Dave from Philly going back and forth.
Yeah. Yeah, no. So yeah, it's multiple people, so I'm not the only one that's like, the dialogue is really bad. But
well, I don't know if this is a Dave from Philly kind of game. He just might be listening to what you're saying.
I don't know. Like, I mean, it was a PlayStation Plus game, and like I was looking at my PlayStation Plus, or not, my PlayStation friend list, and it was like 48 people have played this game. So like people are playing it, and I just want to say, like, just if you can get past the dialogue, there is a fun game to be had here. And I have a feeling, I know for it happened with Advent, where he was just like, I got through the dialogue.
Okay. Yeah, it's a Dave from Philly game because it's a Plus game.
Yeah.
Okay.
And for Advent's thing is like, he played it, and then he got past the dialogue, and he's like, I can't do this, and he left. And Like, no, there's a really good game beyond that with like loot and leveling up and different game mechanics.
Like I really want to date this person as long as they don't talk.
basically. And like, I'm enjoying it. Like, I think the music's good and there's fun to be had, but you just kind of got to get past that initial dialogue to get there. I will say there is like PvP stuff, but mostly the PvP stuff that I've been interacting with has just been basically, they made like a mini version of like Fall Guys, where
I might have to download this game just to see this dialogue, hear this dialogue.
And I hope you get past that dialogue to actually play it, because then you probably actually have some fun with
awesome.
It. But the PvP.
Just mute the game. Yeah, that's great. That's a great box art line. Just mute the game.
Honestly, like, I've been playing and listening to podcasts, but like.
But you do that for like half the games you play anyways.
Yeah. And the funny thing is like, I don't listen to like electronic, like dubsteppy type music, but the music's actually really fucking good in this game, to where as soon as I get past the dialogue, I'm kind of just like, I can just vibe out to this music and play and kind of get lost in a run. But again, when it comes to like the PvP stuff, they have like Fall Guys like PvP stuff where it's just like last one on the platform, like block breaking stuff. They have like their own version of like Rocket League, like a soccer game thing, and that stuff's actually really fun. And
awesome.
I've been kind of addicted to that aspect of the game more than going through like the PvE stuff, to where I'm playing like the PvP stuff and I'm just like, oh shit, this is actually kind of fun. There's only like 4 or 5 game modes I think in the PvP right now. There might be more, but it like rotates. Because the PvP is like 8 rounds, you get a certain amount of points each round. So there might be more, I'm just not getting them like dished out to me. But I've been really into that. It's been just one of those games to where like after work, I'm just like, I'm just going to play for an hour, and either that means I'm going to play that PvP, or I'm just going to just do a run of the PvE and see how far I can get. And then as soon as that run is over, I stop. So there's definitely going to be one of those games. I don't know how many weekends it'll last me, but at least 2 weekends I'm still playing it. So this seems like a perfect like PS Plus game that I don't know where this game would be without PS Plus. Like, I don't know if I would have necessarily picked it up right away, or I would have waited for it to go free to play, because this game also looks like this would make a very good transition to free to play if it wants to do that. But I don't know, like Dave from Philly and Advent in the chat, if this was free to play, I don't know if they would make it past the dialogue. Is the problem?
It's like Stray's coming out tomorrow. Stop lying to yourself.
I'm probably still gonna play this game from time to time. I'm so like, Stray is getting really good reviews, but like one of the trophies talks about dying 9 times, and I can't watch that cat.
Yeah. Well, this week we get Stray and As Dusk Falls. I didn't realize As Dusk Falls was coming out so soon.
I can't get over that art style for that game.
I know, but I think I'm gonna try it.
I'll download it. But
I think I'm gonna try it, and I also think I want Angela to play it. I think Angela can.
That might be the game you connect to on your phone for your road trip, because it's about a road trip.
I was thinking about that too, like playing it on my phone, or like, yeah.
All right, just to further piss off Advent in the chat, and I know people love when we talk about people in the chat for the regular podcast because they can't see the chat. I watched the first episode of the Netflix Resident Evil show. I think it's okay, but from my understanding is the first episode is the best it gets, and then it goes on a fucking downward spiral. I immediately was like, oh, did they just make Riverdale Resident Evil? And it's, by the end of the first episode, I'm like, shit, they made Riverdale Resident Evil, which sounds horrible enough for me to enjoy. But it sounds like it gets worse than that as that show goes on. So I watched the first episode. Me and Sarah will probably get through, I think it's only 8 episodes, so we'll probably get through it. But if it gets worse, I don't know if we will finish it in a certain amount of time.
I just really want your friend to tell us what he really thinks. Like, honestly, I think he's holding back.
He did an episode with me of PS Nation, so maybe I bring him on next week. and we'll just talk about Resident Evil if he's up to it. But yeah, the first episode showed promise. There were some instances where I'm just like, I don't know if I like the direction some of these characters are going, but I want to see where it goes. But then everyone I've talked to say, holy shit, this thing falls off a cliff after episode 3. I think Advent says episode 5 for him. But I'm willing to put myself through that. But with Stray coming out, me being into Arcadegeddon, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get through Resident Evil, the TV series. So that's it for Playing and Watching for me.
All right, we'll hit some questions up really quick, and then we'll get out of here. So Robert Cartwright from overseas writes, I'm traveling to the U.S. next month, and he's taking the Switch. What would you say is a must-have for a 10-hour flight?
Okay. I would say if you're flying solo, you couldn't go wrong with like an RPG, so like Octopath, Triangle Strategy, or if you like mystery games, the Danganronpa trilogy is on the Switch, so I would highly recommend like a 10-hour flight will get you through a good chunk of Danganronpa. Especially the first one, they do get longer as they go in the trilogy, so like you might be able to do some decent damage and beat like 1.5 Danganronpa games, there and back. If you are flying with someone else, I would say Overcooked on a plane. I played it, like me and Sarah played Overcooked while on a plane. I mean, it's got the little kickstand for the Switch, and you can play like multiplayer games with the person you're traveling with, like Mario Kart or something. That is really fun to do on a flight. And I've done that where I think it was also, it might have been, it was when I went to PAX or E3, whoever I was flying back with, we just like set up the Switch and just played multiplayer games in like the terminal. So like definitely like if you're flying solo, can't go wrong with a Square RPG or a Danganronpa. Flying together with someone, Overcooked, Mario Kart, have some fun on the plane.
Yeah. I mean, the two quick things that come to mind is if you're interested in the franchise at all, the Mario Rabbids game. Again, like a tactical, like kind of like turn-based a little bit. I really like that. Owen liked that. And then I just looked it up to make sure. Nobody Saves the World.
Oh yeah, that came out on the
Yeah, that came out on the Switch, so I would definitely, like, if you haven't picked that up on PlayStation, Robert, or if you didn't play it on your PC, I would definitely recommend that. Those are, like, some of the, like, recent ones. Reason I say Mario Rabbids, there's a new one coming out in October, so if you decide you like it, there's another one you can play right away. And then if you haven't played, I mean, the easiest go-tos, if you, like, Metroid Dread, if I could find it. I'm hearing really good things about it. And then Breath of the Wild, which is longer than 10 hours.
Yeah, but you can get a good chunk. I mean, you're not going anywhere for 10 hours on a flight, especially if you can't sleep on a flight.
There and back is 20, and you could actually probably have if you just played that. I mean, not that I would ever recommend playing for that many hours straight, but if you committed a significant amount of time to that, you could be very involved in the world and getting hooked by that.
Yeah, just fuck up your vacation to when you're in a hotel. You're like, well, I got to beat Breath of the Wild before we go back, and then just dive into that.
Yeah. So. And then Randy Pinnock writes, what is your favorite childhood summer memory? So this will be good because I'm sure this will involve Michael not eating bread or anything. So
that doesn't even make sense. You're just trying to take a shot to take a shot. I don't know. It would probably be like not a specific memory, but it would probably be like the 1 or 2 summers, like either it was like towards the end of high school or like beginning of college, where none of my friends, we didn't have jobs or anything like that. So it literally was like a summer where one of us would just text the other, like a group of like 4 people of just like, which park are we going to? And then we would name a park to play basketball. And then we would...
Wait, how old were you?
High school, high school, maybe freshman year of college.
Our age gap is significant, but like, I'm just going to text my buddy. I'm like, wait a minute, I wasn't texting my friends.
Yeah, no. So... I'm like, what am I, like 6 or 7 years younger than you? So, but basically it would just be like, anytime during like 1 or 2 summers where it'd be like 11 o'clock, get a text message, we're going to this park. Cool, meet up at that park. And then once we were done playing basketball at that park, we would just move on to another park and just walk like several miles to the other park, and then it would be like 11 o'clock at night, and then we'd finally be going home after playing basketball for like 12 fucking hours. So
how, like, what kind of shape are the courts in Chicago in? What kind of shape are the rims in? Is there lights?
We would we would start at the popular park that had like good lights and like proper rims, but if that got too packed, we would then go to like the park that we probably shouldn't be playing at, and we'd just play against like the game banners that got too in their feelings when they lost. So we would play at those parks until it was like not safe to play at those parks anymore, and then head over to the nicer parks again. Like that was like the summer that we found out that NetherRealm, who have a studio in Chicago, they have a basketball court in their parking lot. And for the most part, they let us play in there, even though like we had to like kind of hop a security fence. I'm pretty sure there was one year that
but they were probably like back in the day, like, okay, like there's 12 kids playing basketball. They're not doing any harm. They're not breaking anything. They're not vandalizing anything.
It was like 4 or 5 of us, and I'm pretty sure one time like security was going to kick us out, but like Ed Boon was there and was just like, let them play sort of shit. Because I remember someone from the studio, like, as security's telling us to get the fuck out, someone from the studio being like, it's fine, whatever, they're not doing shit. So that would be like a good summer, because like if all the parks were too packed, we would be like, all right, let's go to the Midway like parking lot, because they had a court in the middle of their parking lot that no one really knew about.
I mean, for me, so it's somewhat similar, but a lot of my summers, especially like elementary school and middle school, were spent swimming. Like the city I grew up in had a pool. I did competitively swim through elementary school, middle school, and high school.
Do they like so it would put you guys in leagues based on height? Because I feel like it'd be a disadvantage having like a swimmer who's 6'4".
No.
Okay, that's bullshit. You don't have to swim as much, damn it.
So, but I mean, it would kind of like my day would kind of start with like we would have like morning practice at like 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock in the morning, and I would just get on my bike and ride the 5 blocks to the pool, and then I would like I'd do the practice and I'd get out of the pool and I'd clean up and then go to like we had the rec center, the community center was right next door, so we'd go over there and hang out, do stuff, play football, play bumper pool, board games, whatever, like just like in a rec center style thing, and then usually like once all the practices were over, it was a city pool that we were members of, and we would just go like hang out in the pool and play in the pool, and then you just go home, and then the next day just kind of repeat the same thing over and over again. You might have different things with the rec center, but yeah, it was just like kind of putting the towel around my neck and shoulders and riding my bike up and doing that and coming home and eating dinner and watching some TV. But that between that and scouts, like growing up I was in Boy Scouts as a kid, and that was swimming and scouts were like my extracurricular activities, at least from the time I was 6 or 7 until 15, 16 when Jonathan was born. so like that's I've gone camping in Canada, like 6 to 8 hours up north in Canada before, with some of the stuff with scouts, and gotten to do a bunch of cool stuff. So those are the biggest memories for me. So, and the fact that my oldest son swam, my daughter swam. I don't know if Owen's gonna swim. Probably. It's also kind of a safe sport in terms of injuries and stuff.
Once you get over the learning to swim part,
as long as you can swim, there's no like concussions or like you don't really hear about like torn ACLs or
worst that happens is you don't shower right after and get a little gnarly. That's about it.
Yeah, you don't get too nice. You smell like chlorine.
Yeah, it depends. Some of the maybe the pools in Chicago are disgusting, but like so okay. you'd look at the
the pools that I swam in, Michael, I could see the floor.
I feel like the ones at my high school you can sometimes see the floor, but there'll be sometimes you're just looking at water and you're
always see the floor. I could always see the floor.
No, there would be sometimes where like there's swim class in my high school. You would look into water and you're like, it was either you swim or you write a 1-page paper about swimming. If you didn't want to swim. Yeah. And sometimes you're looking at water and you're just like, yeah, I'm going to write a paper today. Because you're just like, I'm just not doing it today.
In the state of Michigan, you had to pass a swim class to graduate high school.
I think it wasn't they forced you to take swimming, but it was like only a quarter.
Even me though, like even if I wanted to like quote unquote like test out of swimming, which I 100% could have done, and when I was 16 years old, 15, 16 years old, you still had to take like a semester of water.
Yeah, we were required to take a semester of swimming as well, at least for some of the lanes that you went into, like the
eventually, like the swim teacher at the end of the semester would be like, okay, like if you can jump in the water and swim to the other end and back, you pass. You know, like you know, but like you have to get in the water and swim. You know, like,
yeah.
So. All right, so that's our show. Spotlight again. Just a quick reminder. Please check out the Division Resurgence mobile game interview stuff. Let me know what you think. Then next week, I guess Mike, depending on my internet, I think I'm going to take a microphone with me, but it's probably like a 5% chance that you'll hear me next week.
I would say don't even risk it. It's either we won't have an episode next week, it'll be a Patreon episode, I'll be solo, or I'll pull Advent Rip into recording. So it's there's 4 possibilities next week, though taking a week off sounds kind of good to me too, so we'll see.
Yeah, I think we're leaning towards the Patreon episode.
Yeah, unless some big news happens, then I will gladly get on here for like 20 minutes.
So, yeah, but that's where we're at. And if we do if something big like that happens, like even you might just voice connect me through Discord, because I know I can do Discord on my phone.
Yeah,
and we could have a
there
quick
won't be a
conversation,
Twitch stream next week, that's for damn sure. Yeah. But there might be some content depending on what's going on.
Yeah. So just keep it's gonna kind of plateau right into the socials anyways. Like follow us on Twitter at Digital Days Pod. We will update there, as well as the Facebook group, letting you guys know what's going on. At the first MJC is Michael's Twitter, and mine is at Good Dave Hunt. I will try to be a little bit more socially active when I'm on vacation, a little bit, show you guys where I'm at, show you guys what we're doing, how I'm torturing Owen in the water, stuff like that. But I am looking forward to kind of just getting away and chilling out, just in general. But other than that, that's kind of where we're at for this week and the end of the month. So I hope everyone has a great week, and we'll talk to you later. Keep moving forward.
Don't be a dick. See ya.